What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Keith one-time Thurman. Keith Thurman has stated that he has no interest in fighting Errol Spence Jr. next. You know, he said that this was from the Boxing Voice. He had this interview, and he quoted that he doesn't have his Mayweather. You know, things in his career didn't go the way he wanted them to go. He also went on to say that Errol Spence is not the Mayweather that I'm looking for. He's not interested in fighting Mayweather. You know, he's looking for his own Mayweather. He says he has no Mayweather. And he also went on to say that he knows what Mayweather's talking about, where he's choosing his opponents, because Keith Thurman was hurt, and you don't go back into the sport from an injury fighting guys like Danny Garcia or Errol Spence. And he says he knows what Floyd Mayweather was talking about now, and he has no interest in Errol Spence. He said Errol Spence was all about man down. Well, where was the man down when he fought Mikey Garcia? He didn't see that same guy, and he has no interest in fighting him. You know, he wants that fight to build, but that fight hasn't built the way he thought it was going to be. You know, and Keith one-time Thurman said the same thing about Terrence Crawford. You remember that, guys? He said, I have no interest in fighting Terrence Bud Crawford. Now he's saying the same thing about Errol Spence. And really, from this interview, guys, I really didn't hear him say, well, I'm trying to build. He said that earlier, in earlier videos, previous videos. He didn't say that in this video. I'm wanting that fight to build. I'm wanting him to build his name. And my career didn't go the way it's supposed to, you know, and Errol Spence is not Floyd Mayweather. Well, look, you know, Errol Spence, he's still a young fighter. And what he needs to understand is that Errol Spence is still building his resume. You know, a lot of people are looking at him the number 2 best welterweight, really the number 1, right? Keith Thurman likes to paint that scenario like he's the number 2 behind himself, you know, and he's trying to give him props only to at a certain standpoint of being number 2, you know, with that limitation. Like, yeah, he's the best under me, you know. That's like Tyson Fury telling Deontay Wilder, yeah, he's the best fighter under me. He's the second best fighter. That's what Keith Thurman's doing, right? But then he's talking about Errol Spence as though he lost against Mikey Garcia. Like that was a failed attempt or something. Like he lost some accolades, which I don't think that he lost. I just think he didn't gain anything by fighting Mikey Garcia. I don't think he lost anything. I think that he's still a fighter that still needs to prove himself at the end of the day. He still needs to prove himself. You know what I'm saying? And he hasn't really done that. But Jesus, you got to give a guy an opportunity to do that. However, I'm going to counterpunch both of all this shit. Keith Thurman first. Now you say you don't want to fight Errol Spence, but why would someone like Terrence Crawford want to come to PBC when you won't even give those guys the opportunity over there? You fought Sean Porter at one point. You fought Danny Garcia at one point. You stayed off 2 years because of injuries. Before those injuries, you ducked and talked all around Errol Spence Jr. Now that you're back, now you have no interest in fighting him. I just find that real strange, man. Like you don't have any interest in fighting the guy that's been calling you out, you know. And that's what's wrong with people like Keith Thurman. He's adapted Floyd Mayweather's model and started doing the same things he does and thinks it's smart. But the only problem is he's not as good talentedly as Floyd. Floyd was able to at least win those fucking fights. But Keith finds out a way not to even fight those fights for him to be won. So he's thinking to himself, well, you know what? I'm going to be like Floyd because, my career didn't go like it's supposed to. So you know what? I'm going to, I'm going to live by that code that Floyd did and not fight the fights that everybody wants to see, holding those fights out until I guess they, kind of just fizz out and people lose interest. He's not that same fighter, and really Keith Thurman has done enough that shows how big his expectations was. He had no ambition in the welterweight division. And here's the thing, if you can't find that Floyd Mayweather like fighter, you gotta go and search for him. That means he needs to be at 154. He fought at 150, right? He didn't start at 147. See, people forget that. Keith Thurman is originally a 154 pounder. He's a 154 pounder. We'll only take his ass up there. Lara called him out. He could, he could fight Charlo. He could fight those guys at 154. He could start off fighting someone like Austin Trout, right? See, that's my problem with Keith Thurman. That's why I hope he loses. I hope Manny Pacquiao beats the piss out of him, and then he can go back to that cupboard and play that fucking flute all he wants to on a park somewhere, because he has no ambition left in the sport of boxing. He's not interested in fighting Terrence Crawford. He's not interested in fighting Errol Spence. He figures because I've beat Danny Garcia at one point and then beat Sean Porter at one point, 2 close fights, that he feels that he's arrived. He feels that he should be and do what Floyd Mayweather did at the last ass part of his career. He thinks he should do that now when he's supposed to be still in his prime. But we're going to find out if he really is. Maybe Keith Thurman is saying these things because he knows he's not in his prime no more. That's why he has no interest in fighting any of these top guys. You know what I mean? He doesn't, he got past Danny Garcia with a split decision win. He got past Sean Porter with a split decision win. But will he get past these guys like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford the same way? He might not. Can he get past Manny Pacquiao? I hope not. There, I've said it. I hope Manny beats that ass. You know why? Because Manny was in jail, and he was in top-ranked jail for the longest time, and he was forbidden to fight those guys over on that side of the street. Now he's doing all the above. He's beat Matisse, then Broner. Now he's fighting Thurman, and I hope he takes Thurman's fucking ass out, because Thurman's showing us that he doesn't want to do anything with the sport. He's bad for the sport. He wants to talk all around and talk about boxing business. We don't give a fuck about that. All we hear you do and all we hear you done was talk about your injuries for the last 2 years, on how you don't want to fight no guy. This is my get back year and all this. I'll fight him when the time is ready. Now you're saying you don't have no interest. You said enough to me. You've said enough to me, and I want you gone. The worst thing could happen if Keith Thurman will beat Manny Pacquiao. If he beats Manny Pacquiao, that would be very, very bad for boxing, especially in the welterweight division, because he'll start doing the same shit. He'll feel, hey, I beat Manny Pacquiao. I'm the guy that retired him, so I will at least have some type of claim to my name, because he really doesn't have anything. You can talk about his career and his resume, but look, he's fought some good guys. He was once hungry, then he fought 2 fucking fights, and now he ain't hungry no more. Who the fuck are you? You ain't one-time Thurman, maybe once upon a time. Right? But one time, what does that mean? How about Keith no-time Thurman? Because at no fucking time, you wanted to fight anybody. You didn't want to fight the best guys. You stopped wanting to fight the best when he is acknowledging that he intentionally does not want to fight the best in the weight class. He's not going anywhere else. He's not going to 154. He does not want to fight the top guys. So at this point, we need to give up on Keith Thurman. Wish Keith Thurman, at least if he gets his ass beat, we can either see, okay, if he goes home and start making babies, okay, he was just through with the sport and he's out of his prime. But if he gets his ass beat, he may be humbled like he claims that he is, but he may be really humbled, right? And that may give him the desire to get what he lost. Okay? So, a lot and good things could happen from an ass whooping. If he gets out of the sport, good. We don't need you no more. You was once upon a time Keith Thurman. But if he does take that ass whooping and gets beat, it might ignite some fire. You see what I'm saying? Because he might be thinking like, oh, well, maybe I don't have a challenge because my career didn't go the way it's supposed to. No one anticipates an injury, but at the end of the day, you can't say I'm not interested in these fighters because I'm just not. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, dude, no. Manny Pacquiao, please get fucking Keith Thurman out of here. He was gone and we really didn't miss him. The sport is good without him anyway. The weight class was good without him. Again, he's a charismatic guy. He knows how to talk, but I think he talks too much without backing it up at this point. And I want to see his ass back out of the sport. Stay injured like Errol Spence said he was going to be when it comes to fighting him. No, he didn't do that. He said, I'm just not going to fight you. Right? So that's that. Okay? You know, Keith Thurman, I don't know what to say about him, but besides what I've already said, you guys tell me what you think about Keith Thurman's statements. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys have been Counterpunch. Peace.